PSA, Alder Lake on Linux. I've been pulling my hair out. I've dumped probably 100 hours into this, and part of it is because I'm not intimately familiar with every single line of the kernel, and part of it is because I don't really understand how thread director is supposed to work on Linux, because it's not called thread director, and part of it is because other extraneous factors and like trying to get it all to fit in your head and all this other kind of stuff. This is the crash cart. I've put it together to help me diagnose not just Alder Lake, but some other things in general. There's like 30 grand of equipment on this cart. Although the single most expensive piece of equipment is the total phase cable tester. Now Linus Tech Tips did a video on that. They're going to test HDMI and DisplayPort cables, but I've already started modifying the interface. You see, they've got these modules that are swappable, and so like this one is USB-C and 2 USB Type A, but it's pretty easy to reconfigure this for testing other things, like case front panels, USB-C connections on the front panel, as well as USB Type A connections on the front panel. And that's what I'm testing on the crash cart, along with Alder Lake. Now, this video is about Alder Lake and Linux and things that you need to look for. First off, ASUS boards. Something is broken with ASUS boards. As of this video, I've tested the Z690M, the Z690A Prime, which is a DDR5 board, and I've also got the Strix board. Now, full disclosure, all of those came from Micro Center. Thanks to viewers like you, I can embark on this madness. Literally all of it, including the $15,000 cable tester, which, yes, I paid for. Well, that's the level 1 KVM also helped pay for that. So we have a KVM, it's pretty awesome KVM, and DisplayPort cables are the devil and have made my hair gray from troubleshooting DisplayPort cables. I've aged prematurely, and this project is like that. That's why I'm mentioning it, is because it's another one of those projects where I was being driven insane. And it's teething issues because it's new hardware, but it's also exciting because it's new hardware. Anyway, ASUS boards, broken. Yes, let's go back to that. So it turns out that there's a bunch of different boards that have a bunch of different versions of Intel microcode, and I didn't know this until I started experimenting with other boards, like from Gigabyte, ASRock, and MSI. If you're curious if Alder Lake's thread director is actually working properly, all you need to do is cat/proc/sys/kernel/sketched_itmt_enabled, and that'll tell you. So thread director, it turns out, at least the way that it's implemented on Linux, really isn't a lot different than the whole Turbo Boost 3.0, where it's like, oh, we've got two favorite cores, let's move things there. Now, Turbo Boost Max 3.0 technology is actually something that has been in the kernel since 4.1. That's an eternity. That's almost 5 years. Can that really be as good as thread director? Well, it turns out the answer is mostly yes. The Turbo Boost Max 3.0 let you move processes to cores, preferred cores, that could clock a little higher or perform a little better than all other cores. And so this technology in Alder Lake is sort of a hint to the operating system scheduler, hey, move things over here. It just so happens that the cores are a lot different than they used to be. Yes, there's probably some upstream work to be done in the kernel to make it that much better, but it's not like it's non-functional, except it is non-functional on ASUS motherboards. So it's a little weird, but not every board is like that. It's just that ASUS mostly is the most egregious offender when it comes to Turbo Boost Max 3.0, and as that applies to thread director. Now, it might be some ASUS special sauce, it might be some tuning, it might be a corrupt ACPI table, it might be corrupt, go down a lot of rabbit holes here and find stuff that looks broken, but is actually just layers upon layers of compatibility issues, or compatibility layers that maybe interfere with one another and cause other problems. But anyway, disturbingly also, the boards that I got from Micro Center came with hilariously out-of-date BIOSes. Like, for example, the Z690M shipped with 0407, BIOS version 0407. That version is so old, you literally cannot download it from the ASUS website. I don't think that microcode was ever supposed to escape Intel Labs, because there's all kinds of crazy stuff in it. Not only that, that version of the BIOS doesn't actually have any RAM XMP options or any RAM upclocking options at all. That's right. The Z690 out of the box, no XMP options. Also encountered that on the Strix. The Strix with the really cool push-button GPU release. No XMP options, and no, there's not even a drop-down menu to pick like AI tuner or anything. Yes, that's a DDR5 motherboard. So I think Alder Lake was rushed just a little bit. But good news is that it's working mostly better, except on ASUS boards, as far as Threadrictor goes, because like I've also got the Gigabyte board. I've actually got 2 Gigabyte boards now, a DDR4 and a DDR5 board. ASRock sent me a Z690 Tai Chi, but I wasn't able to pick up any other ASRock boards at Micro Center. There's some kind of a shortage right now. I think ASRock got the short end of the stick with distribution, so their prices and availability seem completely out of whack for whatever reason. Day 37. Everyone is growing restless, and we are low on food. No, it's yet another trip to Micro Center. Hey, at least I got the open box deals, right? So, yeah, it turns out that there's more going on here than I thought. You see, it depends on your BIOS version and the microcode, but also overclocking and what's considered overclocking. So the reason that we were seeing odd results from ASUS is because when you enable XMP or do anything, even it seems like the ASUS defaults, that's considered overclocking. So in every configuration, when you look at the preferred cores in Linux, the tables for that, it says every core is a preferred core, which is a thing that happens in overclocking. See devices, system, CPU, and then the specific CPU, and then ACPI_CPPC. ACPI tables get you into trouble with Linux every time because the ACPI tables for Windows is a little different than Linux. One of the parameters in there is highest perf. Under normal circumstances, when you cat this, when you check what the contents of that are, and overclocking is not the factor, that's going to have a value in it like 40 or 60 or something like that. So your hyper-threaded cores have a very low value like 10, and your performance cores will have a value like 40 or 60, and your E-cores, your efficiency cores, are going to have a value somewhere between those two. I'm pretty sure that Intel microcode sets the specific values for the P-cores and the E-cores, but as I'm working on this video, I don't remember exactly specifically what the values are, but your P-cores are going to be your highest performance, and then your E-cores and your hyper-threads. Well, when you overclock it, it just sets them all to FF. It's like there's no such thing as performance cores or preferred cores. You're overclocking. The thing that's really dumb here is you get that when you just enable XMP, and it was like, no, that would still be useful info. I would like to know what the preferred cores are, even though I'm not overclocking. Fortunately, that's also part of the stuff that Intel is working on with their patch. So you won't have to worry about your settings on your motherboard or which specific motherboard you have is returning naughty things in the ACPI table. But that day is not today, but soon. And you can monitor on the Level 1 forums. We've got more info there and the current state of things if you're doing Alder Lake on Linux. But yeah, we need these kinds of hints to give to the Linux scheduler so that we can have thread director type functionality actually working on Linux. This is sort of the other half of the enhanced, Turbo Boost 3.0 functionality that was added to the kernel like 5 years ago that Alder Lake kind of builds on, except it's a little broken. So if you're going to run Alder Lake, at least right now, until you're going to have to come to the Level 1 forums and confirm that they've fixed it in a more recent version of the BIOS. I'm going to link a thread below so you can keep an eye on that. But just wanted to put out a PSA that the thread director stuff on Linux is not working correctly. Now, Windows is fine. Windows doesn't have the issue. It's literally just Linux. And I never would have known if I didn't have at least a half a dozen Z690 motherboards to play with. How crazy is that? This is Level 1. That's a quick look at the Level 1 crash card. Okay, it's a little bit, vlog, a little bit update, a little bit Linux channel filler. But also, if you're going to go Alder Lake and you're having problems, check that and see if it works on your board. If it does, if it's working for you, let me know, because I literally just got this BIOS like 2 days ago. And it's still broken on this version. But then they updated it again and took the old version down. So it's like, oh, I got to flash again. But I've sent some emails. My contacts have rotated out. They don't... I don't know. It's a mess. I'm Wendell. This is Level 1. I'm signing out. You can find me in the Level 1 forums. Let's chat if you picked up Alder Lake and you're running Linux. Because, I think some stuff's broken. But I'm still digging. Just so you know.